I use the word visualization a lot, but I may start using a different word, a word that is very popular nowadays. It's been popular since the late 90s, and that word is simulation. Essentially, what you're doing when we say visualize is in your mind, you're creating a simulation. Now, it doesn't have to be perfectly, it doesn't have to perfectly mirror reality. It just has to have parts of reality to give the flavor of what the real world would be like. Now, some philosophers say a simulation is a real world, and I tend to agree with that. So let's call it the simulated world and the simulated real world, and then the real world, if that makes sense. So what I'm saying is, if you have a game to play, say you're a basketball player or a golfer, or you have a speech to make, one thing you can do to prepare is in your own mind, create a simulation, create a model of that world you're going to enter into. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be one-to-one. You create a simulation of a basketball game where you see people in the stands, you see the gym, you see the ref, you see the scorer's table, you see the scoreboard, you hear the sounds, and you just need little fragments of this to set the scene, to give the simulation some information. And then, just like in a video game, you have two options how to play in this simulation. You can play from the first person, or you can play from the third person. You can watch yourself from the outside. And I recommend first doing what's most comfortable for you, but also going back and forth. Like if I'm visualizing myself or simulating myself hitting a game winner, what I'll do is I'll see myself from the stands hit a game winner. I'll see how I react. I'll notice my body language. I'll notice, my facial expression. I'll see kind of the whole court, and I'll see my skill set. I'll see myself cross somebody over, pull up, and hit a game winner. And then, same play, I'll jump in, and now I'm first person in this simulation. So, visualization is really a simulation. And when you're in first person, you're going to get some different senses. You're going to get your tactile sense. You'll feel the ball on your fingertips. You'll feel the jersey on you, right? Maybe you get bumped when you shoot your shot. You can feel that. Your mind is great at creating simulations. So, really, visualization is simulation. And the more often you simulate the environment you're going to be in, if you're on a golf course and you simulate playing the first hole, when you step up to that first hole, when you're in the real world, not the simulated real world, the real world, well, your subconscious mind has a lot of reps being in something very similar. So what happens in the real world, after you've been in the simulated real world, which is an echo of the real world, what happens is your subconscious mind goes, I recognize this. I'm supposed to feel confident here. This is how my body's supposed to move. This is what I'm supposed to feel, right? And when you're in the simulated real world, and David Chalmers talks about the simulated worlds being real, and I like to think of the visualizations as actually being real. These simulated mental worlds, in my experience, especially when you get good at them, they have a texture of reality to them. It's very powerful. I mean, it just feels, you get good at it. It feels legitimate. I've hit game winners in my mind. I've given speeches in my mind, and it feels like the real thing. It feels like one of those dreams where, you wake up and you can't believe it was just a dream. So you live within a bunch of simulations, right? You're simulating anyways. You're thinking about the future. You're simulating the past. You're reliving the past. So take control of these simulations, at least for 5 to 10 minutes a day, and simulate yourself succeeding. It increases the likelihood that in the real world, that you will actually experience what you've been simulating in the simulated real world. So I want you to start thinking about simulations, visualizations as simulations, and that they're actually real. And what's cool about it, again, it doesn't have to be one-to-one. You just got to get the flavor of the real world in your simulated real world, and the subconscious knows what you mean by that and fills in the gaps. So I'm changing everything in a lot of my programs from visualization to simulation, because that's what we're doing. Please like, subscribe, and make sure you check out my programs at BasketballBrain.com, BoingVert.com, and DylanFreed.com. By the way, I've actually used simulated real worlds, right? Having athletes envision themselves jumping higher and then adding a few inches to their vert. So check out BoingVert.com as well. Peace.